Alright, so I'm actually surprised that I haven't talked about this when these stories first happened, like 5 years ago, because that would have been a pretty good video if I talked about it at that time, but it probably wouldn't, because I've changed my perspective on those stories when they first happened from today. Because, yeah, high school was just a weird story. But, anyways, let's talk about these stories. So, in sophomore year in high school, I did something that never thought I would do: dating. It was a very, very interesting time for me. It's sophomore year. It was also a good time because Avengers Infinity War came out, I think around the end of my sophomore year. So that was a good time. Anyways, so let's talk about my first date. This is my very, very first date, sophomore year of high school. We'll call her Heather, the girl I'm talking about. Heather, I met her around elementary school, so that's around the time I met her, and we kind of stopped talking for a little bit in middle school. I think we were at the same middle school, but we just didn't really talk that much until sophomore year. We kind of started talking again, and so I thought maybe she'd actually be cool to date. And so one day I asked her out, and she said yes. And yeah, I was very excited because I never asked a girl out before, and it was really cool. But anyways, here's what happened. So the date was at a coffee shop, and it got delayed so many times. And then at one point, she suggested the idea that maybe we should do it right after school, where right after school we'd walk to the coffee shop. And at that point, I was just so desperate that I said, yeah, let's do it. But here's the catch: I didn't have any cash on me, so I couldn't buy her a coffee. And that was stupid. I should have just delayed it. Anyways, at one point, I was in the front of the school waiting for Heather, and I see her walking, and she's walking with someone. It was one of her friends that was also a girl, and that was a massive red flag that I should have noticed. And yeah, so we were walking from the school to the coffee shop, and keep in mind, the coffee shop is like a mile away from the school, and this was in November, so it was pretty cold. So it was a pretty long walk. That really sucked. Anyways, we eventually make it to the coffee shop, and we go upstairs to this table, this big table, and we were on our phones the whole time, and it just sucked. That's all I'm gonna say. It just really sucked. Yeah, it just, for a first date, it went terrible, or not really terrible. It really wasn't that bad. It's just like we weren't talking at all. We really weren't. We were just on our phones the whole time, and I probably had a little small talk, but it was just so awkward. If I could go back in time and prevent myself from going to that date, I would, and I'll explain to him how bad it would be, and he'd probably be like, "Yeah, I ain't going." Good. But anyways, yeah. So that's pretty much that story. At one point when they left, I was still staying in the coffee shop at the table. I think at one point I just put my head down, or I was just staring at the table itself, just like looking down, and I just looked really depressed. And eventually, like this, one of the workers were there, and she saw me, and she was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I stopped myself. I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine, thank you." And it kind of made me feel a little bit better because there's still some decent people out there that are very nice, and that waitress reminded me of that, and it was very, very nice. So yeah, that's pretty much that story. Let's go on to the next one. I'll name this girl Kelly. So I met Kelly in my English class of sophomore year. She's very nice. We were around, I think we were into the same type of music. She was into 21 Pilots and stuff. At one point we were in a table together in the class, and we talked pretty much like all the time, and I thought we had a lot of stuff in common. And at one point I jumped the gun and decided to ask her out. Went very well. She said yes to it, and we next thing you know, we went to the coffee shop, the same coffee shop from the previous date. It went so well. It was way better than the last date. We talked for like 2 hours, and it was fantastic. It was great. She was very nice. It was so cool. And I remembered getting home from the date, getting on Fortnite with Cameron and my brother-in-law Chris. We were playing Fortnite together, and I was talking to them about the date, and they thought it was really cool. They were happy for me, and I was happy, and it was just genuinely a good day. And I remembered at 10:30 at night, she texted me saying, "I just want to say thank you for such a good time." And I was like, "Oh, no problem." And it was cool. It was really cool. And then 3, 4, or 5 days later, I asked Kelly if she wanted to go see a movie, and she goes, "I'd love to, but I want to stay friends." And she sent me this long text. I don't think I remembered reading it, but yeah, that really hit me. I just like, that sucked, man, because we had a really good date, and it just stopped from there. I remembered in English that day, we had to work on this paper, and I had my AirPods in, and I was listening to Joy Division, which is not the band you should be listening to when something like that happens. But I was listening to this one song, and at one point Ian Curtis had this very sad lyric in it, and at one point I was just like this, because I was just upset at that time. I wasn't crying or anything like that, no, obviously, but as soon as I did that, I get a text, and it's from Kelly during class, and she says, "I'm so sorry." And I felt so bad, and I just said, "It's okay." And then after that, I went home, and I think I stayed in my room the whole time. I didn't even talk to my parents about what happened, but I think they assumed what happened, so I didn't really need to say anything. And actually, another little story, I think around July of that year, because I think when the date happened, it was around March, around that time. So around July, I didn't go to this coffee shop since. I assumed I had bad luck there, and so my cousin Turner, he texted me going, "Hey, we're going to this coffee shop if you want to join us." And I was like, "I don't know, I'm worried that Kelly's gonna be there," and I was just so worried about that, and I was like, she probably won't be. So I do go to the coffee shop, and it was pretty good at first, and then me and my cousin, we were playing cards. I forget which game we were playing, but at one point, Turner looks at me and he goes, "Hey, I think that girl just said your name." And I look over to my right. It's Kelly. And so I'm just like, "Dude, we gotta get out of here, man. This is bad." And we acted cool. We grabbed the cards, and then we started walking. I think we walked around downtown. At one point we were walking, and then I hear this honk, and we see this big truck pull up, and we realize it's my brother Thomas, and he's like, "What are y'all doing?" I was like, we're just going out for a walk." He's like, "All right," and he just drove off, and that was a weird coincidence, but yeah, this was just a weird coincidence, man. Like, something you didn't think was gonna happen, it did happen, so that was just really funny. But yeah, I don't think I've been to the coffee shop since. Actually, I take it back. I went there another time. I forget when, but nothing like that happened at that time, fortunately. So yeah, thanks coffee shop for not being a curse that time. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this video. Leave a like on this video if you really enjoyed it, and subscribe if you're new. See you guys.